all gathered here today to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Rae Vargas being a single mama. Here's to my independence. Yay! You guys know what I wish for? Another 50 years of being without that dumbass. Okay, I'm gonna eat that later. But today, what we're really gathered here for is not only to, yes, celebrate my independence. 1 year ago today, I broke up with the children's Faja, and I got out of what is most definitely the worst relationship I have ever been in my life. I was very unhappy. I was, depressed at some points. And I'm so relieved that there really was this light at the end of the tunnel. It wasn't easy. We were together for just shy of 4 years. We broke up because there were a lot of lies and infidelity. There was a lot of messed up stuff going on. If you're really interested in that, I do have an entire video on my breakup and becoming like a single mom and stuff. And it's kind of outdated. I think we might have been still like friends back then, but we're not really friends anymore. In fact, we are going head to head right now, boo. You can figure out what I mean by that. I'm not gonna get into the details. But anyway, I'm here to tell you guys that there is always a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to getting out of bad relationships, long-term relationships, relationships with someone that you may have had kids with, that you may have been married to, you may live with them, things where you think that like we're so together that being apart is just inconceivable. It's not something that you can even imagine doing. But I'm just here to tell you that it's totally okay. You're gonna get past it. You're gonna be happier than ever, and life goes on. All right, so I have 10 tips for you guys, so let's get into it. So my first tip is that you should allow yourself to think about the relationship. Allow yourself to remember the good times. Allow yourself to remember the bad times. But don't become like crazy obsessed over the entire situation. Remember that there are other aspects of your life. There are other things going on. You have a job, you're in school, you have kids, you have parents, you have siblings, you have friends, you have a movie that you really want to see or this book that you really want to read. Remember that the rest of your life did not end. The rest of your life does not have to stop just because you are going through a breakup. Tip number 2, remind yourself of all of the bad stuff that happened. One of the ways that I did this was the night that we broke up, I took screenshots of all the crap that I found, that I ended up finding on his computer, and I wrote stuff down from that night, things that he said, really messed up things that he said, and I just sort of put everything down somewhere so that I could remember all of the bad stuff. We tend to sort of look back and think, well, I remember when he used to do this, or he would hold the door open, or he was so sweet that one time I got sick and he brought over this or whatever. We tend to remember a lot of the good stuff and we forget all of those really, really negative things. Remind yourself of those things because it's necessary, because when you're back in that relationship, trust me, time and time and time again, you are going to be reminded of all that bad stuff that you so easily forget once you are apart. Tip number 3. Now, while you should remember the negative stuff, don't make that your entire life. Remember it if you are thinking that you made a bad decision and you want to get back together with that person, or perhaps they broke up with you and you want to convince them of all these good things that happened and you want to convince them to stay in this relationship. Then you should think of those negative things. However, do not fret over it. Don't just get stuck on those emotions. Don't just let yourself be super regretful. Don't let yourself get depressed. Don't let that kind of stuff happen. So think of the negative things when you need to remind yourself while you're out of the relationship. However, do not just sit and wallow in those things for, an endless amount of time. Number 4, don't rethink what you've done. Don't rethink the decision that you made to break up with someone. Trust me, I went through this time and time and time again with my ex because we had kids together and I couldn't help but feel that I was failing as a mother by letting our relationship basically just fail and letting our relationship crumble. But the thing is that it takes more than one person to have a relationship, and it doesn't take more than 2 people to have a relationship, if you know what I mean. Okay, so when he brought in numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the list goes on and on and on, when he brought in all these people, well, you see, our relationship became more difficult to have. But when I broke up with him and we were separated, then I was like, oh, well, what if I was just better at doing something Like, no, girl, don't rethink your decision. You made that decision because you had a reason to. Remind yourself of that reason. Number 5. Keep some space between you and your ex. Now, if you go to school with them, just kind of avoid them. It's not a big deal. People understand when you break up, you don't want to be all up in that person's face. With me and my ex, when we broke up, I didn't want to see him. And we inevitably had to see each other, but I didn't want to see him right away. And so I told him, like, back up, get a few days worth of clothes in your little laundry basket. I don't want to see your face, right? And you need some distance. I would recommend more than just a few days. If you're not, you know, if you don't have a relationship where you had kids, or if you weren't living together, if you weren't married, if your relationship was, you know, more high school, college level, or just not that serious yet in terms of long-term commitments to each other, bank accounts, children, you know, marriages, then take some time, step back, just get totally out of that person's face, get them out of your face. Do not be their friend on Facebook, do not follow them on Twitter, on Instagram, on Pinterest, on Tumblr, I don't care. Don't follow them, don't creep on their lives, don't talk to their family, don't talk to their friends. It's really just to remind yourself that you existed before this person and you will exist after this person. Number 6. Now, I'm telling you that, you know, don't be super negative, don't rethink your decision, blah, 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 but also totally allow yourself sometimes to wallow in that stuff. Now, I'm not saying do this on a regular basis, but I'm saying, girl, if you want to cry yourself to sleep one night, cry yourself to sleep that night, wake up the next day, go work out, go have coffee with your friends, go do something that's going to make you happy, something that's going to remind you that what you did was A-okay, probably the greatest decision, and just let yourself experience emotions, but don't get wrapped up in them. Don't let them be your entire life. Don't be depressed. Do your best. Get a stress ball. Paint their face on it. Stick their face on it. Poke it with things. Whatever you need to do. I'm not going to judge you, girl. Holler at me. We'll talk on Twitter. I'll give you all sorts of tips. Tip number 7. Allow yourself to be mad at that person, okay? Now, I know we're all going to be adults and we should all be like, yeah, it's okay. Let's still be friends. Let's hug it out. Yeah, here, let me hand you all your stuff very nicely. Look, I folded your clothes and everything. Here, take all your shit back. Now, see, well, some people can do that and some people can't. I personally went through this phase where I was like, I hate your face. I hate your pants. They're stupid and too small. I hate everything about you. Like, I hated everything about that boy. Now, eventually, you're gonna have this huge, like, orb of indifference around you, and you're not even gonna care. Like, you're not gonna hate him, you're not gonna love him, you're not gonna do anything for him. You really are just not gonna care. Tip number 9, get rid of the old stuff in your life. Let yourself become this new re-energized person, right? Get a haircut, color your hair, switch up your style a little bit. Start wearing pink nail polish, even though you never did before. Whatever. Out with the old, in with the new. It'll remind you that changing up your life a little bit in areas other than your relationship can still be a totally positive thing. I mean, who doesn't love new stuff? For instance, typically, I would buy a vanilla cupcake, but I bought chocolate, and it's good. That was appropriate. Tip number 10 is really about removing any sort of triggers. Now, triggers that are going to make you think of something negative in that relationship, because truly you don't want to be thinking about that relationship. And triggers that are going to make you think of something positive in that relationship, because you don't want to be thinking about that relationship. So this actually sort of translated to some other areas of my life, because eventually, not that long ago, I started a new relationship with another guy, and he's great, fabulous, all that good stuff. And I'm super happy with him. The only thing is that I realized that in our relationship, I started having triggers from my previous relationship. So there were things that my ex would say and he wouldn't really mean it, or it would be like some code of his where I knew he was really talking about something else and he was really being like a jerk. And then when my new guy says it, he just means it in a totally normal way, like nothing crazy. He's not, no hidden meanings, nothing like that. But I had to tell him that, like, every time he used these certain words or this certain phrase, like, it made me think of all this really negative stuff, and it had a really negative effect. And I wouldn't like lash out at him, but I would get kind of upset or just angry out of nowhere, and I would sort of end the conversation or something like that. So I had to tell him, like, hey, you know what, it's kind of a trigger for me. And I explained the situation, and it's really helped us in our relationship for me to be aware of my triggers and to get rid of them, whether they be songs or books or TV shows. Although I didn't give up all the TV shows, because I mean, I'm gonna watch Love and Hip Hop. I'm gonna watch it. I don't care if you're watching it too, I'm gonna watch it too. Anyway, So those are my tips on getting over a hard breakup. Nala, is mommy happy? Yeah, see, mommy's happy. Is daddy happy? See, daddy's happy too. So it just goes to show that you can get out of any breakup, no matter what the situation, whether you have babies or not, and you can actually be a totally happy person. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And there's always cupcakes on your anniversaries. Literally, I've never cared about any anniversary as much as I care about like my one cupcake, my 1 year anniversary of this breakup. Yay! Anyway, leave your comments or your helpful tips on getting over breakups, or let me know what your story is in the comments. I'm sure I would love to read it, and someone else might actually be totally helped out by it. So I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye! Say mwah. Yeah, here. Let me my cupcake, girl. It's my anniversary, not yours.
That's cool, but if my friends ask where you are, I'm gonna say she went